Hello YouTube. Let's start with Russia today, actually the former Soviet Union. And we're speaking about super soldiers who do not know fatigue and pain, who can do without food and rest, who do not know fear and who blindly obey any orders. Well, that's the dream of any army. It's no secret that the National Socialist German Wehrmacht tried to increase the combat capability of its soldiers with the help of chemicals. In the USSR, attempts were made to make a deeper alteration of the soldiers, in the literal sense, attempts to create biorobots. Today, several such experiments have been partially declassified. In 1945, the Americans seized a Nazi laboratory in Germany, where the corpses of Soviet soldiers were found disfigured by experiments. Their bodies were implanted with titanium bones and mechanisms that replaced joints. At first, the Americans considered this to be experiments of German scientists, but during interrogations, it turned out that they only studied the samples captured from the USSR. This issue is covered in more detail by the American historian Jeff Strasberg, whose father led a group created specifically to study Soviet experiments. In his book Secret Weapons of the Soviets, he gives several examples of the evidence that such a program in the USSR really had existed between the years 1936 and 1941. It involved 300 volunteers who had their limb bones partially replaced with titanium prostheses that are virtually invulnerable to bullets and had electrodes implanted in their brains that block pain centers. But the side effects of this operation was numerous mental abnormalities. Perhaps this is why, and because of them, that the Soviet combat cyborgs were never actually used. It is difficult to say how successful the experiment was, since most of the volunteers stationed in the Brest region were destroyed by German artillery on the first day of World War II in the Soviet Union. The project itself was discontinued in the summer of 1941. The scientists who worked on it were transferred to other facilities, and almost all died during the fighting. It is believed that this was not accidental. The fate of the surviving Titan soldiers is not known for certain. All information on the project was withdrawn and classified after the end of the war. The project itself was recognized as unpromising, since titanium bones could not withstand the destructive impact of atomic bombs. Although, in addition to the book by Jeff Strasberg, there are several other testimonies, such as an interview with Sergei Konovalenko, a doctor from Vitebsk, who discovered a skeleton with implanted titanium limbs and bones. And no material evidence has been preserved. That's all there is. And if the evidence has been preserved, it remains well classified, according to Russians, as indeed such classified, just as classified still remain the programs for creating super soldiers, which of course were not only conducted in the USSR, but also in the United States and other countries that claim to be superpowers. Well, let's look at Konovalenko's evidence. In 1994, a doctor from Vitebsk, Belarus, Sergei Konovalenko, walking on the outskirts of a military cemetery, discovered a strange skeleton. The river washed away the old graves, and the contents of the graves were on the surface. Dr. Konovalenko found the remains of a skeleton that was connected to a mental prosthesis. On a cursory examination, the doctor concluded that this prosthesis did not replace amputated limbs, but human bones. On one of the prostheses, there was an engraving, Kharkov, 1934, ASCH 760978-C. So the doctor decided to go to the hospital and get the necessary tools to carry out the examination of the remains. But while he was gone, it started raining, and it washed the skeleton into the river. New experiments to enhance Soviet soldiers began during the war in Afghanistan. This time, psychotropic substances were used, which were supposed to increase the endurance of soldiers, make them more aggressive, and deprive them of the need for sleep and food. As a result of the experiment, a negative effect was observed. The soldier became able to operate in extreme conditions without food or sleep for more than a week, but then came coma and death. There are also army tales, Soviet army tales, or Russian army tales, that during the Chechen wars, special groups received such drugs and then entire villages were destroyed in the rear of the militants. However, there was no confirmed information until the year 2009 to an extent. In early 2019, a unique article appeared in the magazine of the Ministry of Defense of Russia, Armейский Сборник, or Military Digest. Its name is Super Soldiers for the War of the Future. Written by Colonel Nikolai Paraskov, it purports to detail the work done by Russian military with combat psychics, or psychic combatants, who supposedly can do all sorts of interesting things, such as treating wounded soldiers on the battlefield, finding hidden caches of weapons, hacking into computers, intercepting radio waves, telepathically interrogate enemies, and to command the dolphins with their mind. This article angered a few people in Russia who suspected that the state secrets were leaked. I have no doubts that the release of the information was intentional. According to Colonel Paraskov, Russia's psychic soldiers have made serious progress. Paraskov, for example, claims that psychic soldiers successfully read documents locked in a safe and written in a language they don't know. He also says that the trained paranormal soldiers, they have the ability to psychically determine whether a person is a terrorist or not. In addition, the colonel claims that Russian psychics are able to burn out generators, turn off computers, and to give telepathic commands to dolphins. The article did not delve into how psychic combatants were able to command dolphins. However, it is known that the Soviet Union and the United States had trained dolphins and other sea mammals, and the Soviets had tremendously interesting achievements. But this is the subject of another future video. Apparently, the Russian detachment of super soldiers already has field experience. The author writes that the paranormal special forces were used in Chechnya, where they acted as psychic investigators. The Russian command was interested in how to get information, disclose the enemy's plans, as well as the composition of the forces and means involved. Well, psychic combatants can telepathically conduct a non-verbal interrogation. It is as if such psychic sees through the captured enemy soldier. What kind of person that soldier is, what are his weaknesses and strengths, and whether the enemy soldier is suitable for recruitment. The reliability of such unusual interrogation is almost 100%. Russian special forces soldiers are trained in technologies to counter such interrogation in case of capture by enemies. And top officials of the country, and also heads of large industrial and banking structures in Russia, they also receive training in order to preserve state or commercial secrets. When asked about the accuracy of the article, the editor-in-chief of the Army Digest gave a fairly solid answer, and he stated that their authors are responsible for the truthfulness of their information. Colonel Paraskov is a regular columnist for the magazine. He also worked as a senior research associate in the Russian military magazine Bulletin of Air Defense, as well as the editor of the main publication of the Ministry of Defense Red Star, Krasnaya Zvezda. Paraskov is a veteran of military operations and was awarded the Medal for Services to the Fatherland. So if this information was printed, it was with the permission of his superiors. Both Russia and the United States have conducted extensive research on mental phenomena for decades. Now, head of the analytical department of the magazine Soldiers of Russia, Anatoly Matvichuk, in an interview with the RBC Russia news agency, he said that the program of paranormal training in Russia is very real and has existed for a long time. Combat parapsychology has been widely developed since the early 1960s. This unique technique was developed by the Soviet Academy of Sciences in an attempt to discover a person's phenomenal abilities. The group of researchers worked under the leadership of the General Staff of the Armed Forces of the USSR. The achievements of that time still exist, and attempts are being made to give them further development to such achievements. And these exotic methods, they were tested in hot spots in Afghanistan and Vietnam. It is well known that both the United States and Russia have conducted military research on parapsychological phenomena in the past. Even if their previous research yielded absolutely nothing, there is no reason to believe that any of these countries would have stopped the research. On the other hand, it seems like a great way to hide where money funding is being spent on such exotic programs, according to those Russians who were not happy about the article that I just mentioned that was published in the Army Digest. One such critical publication stated back in April of 2019 that currently the Russian Defense Ministry is checking or investigating the published information from Colonel Paraskov. However, how and through what means he got this information, that's what they need to know. Well, I have not heard about any updates of that investigation, and I honestly don't think it's going on. Here's an excerpt from the Paraskov article. In the plans of the military of many countries is to create a super soldier who can withstand torture, hunger, sleep deprivation. He will not be broken by beatings and electric shock. He doesn't feel pain or fear. He can eat grass, communicate telepathically, resist stress, climb walls like a lizard. When creating a super soldier, scientists, as in many other cases, borrowed ideas from nature. In nature, dolphins do not sleep, otherwise they would drown. Sled dogs in the far north can run for days without food or rest. Bats navigate in the dark using echolocation. Goats and piglets will do almost anything for food. It remains to repeat all this in the public. However, they want to repeat this. What it means is they want to repeat it in general human public. However, it is necessary to agree on the details of a moral and legal nature. But unlike animals, humans do not have fangs, claws, fur, or wings. The human body does not produce a protective poison. A person cannot run fast, recover quickly, and does not have other qualities that are useful for survival in the wild world or wilderness. As scientists skeptically joke, we're naked apes who would not have survived at all if not for the intelligence and resourcefulness that created the tools. In short, it is necessary to improve the basic human qualities. The fighter must be stronger, more informed, more resilient, and maneuverable in different conditions. The technologies that make these abilities possible include neuroscience, bio and nanotechnology, robotics, artificial intelligence, and more. Some of the innovations are external adaptations. In particular, the exoskeleton gives the soldier much greater strength. So this was from the article of Paraskov, but now we have to go to the east and let us look at China. Now I'm using the Russian information unless indicated otherwise. Today the Chinese special forces, despite their youth, are considered one of the best in the world. For a long time the so-called special forces of the People's Liberation Army, PLA, and the Chinese Navy did not exist. The functions of special forces were performed by intelligence units that actually conducted intelligence actions and information gathering, organized ambushes, capture of prisoners, and other operations. But according to the author of the publication World Encyclopedia of Special Forces, Sergei Balenko, in the mid-1980s, the PLA command began to move away from the concept of people's war and tend to understand the greater likelihood of local conflicts, which as a rule occur in a short time, and victory in them is won through the use of modern weapons and all sorts of technical means. That is why in 1988, in Guangzhou, on the basis of the intelligence unit, a rapid response unit was created, equipped with the latest technology, which was supposed to perform special tasks. Even though information about the forces intended for special operations is kept secret by the Chinese, it is known that now the PLA ground forces have at least 7 such groups. Each unit is stationed in one of the 7 military districts. Special forces are also available in the country's Air Force. Chinese Special Forces units have very telling names: Falcon, Siberian Tiger, Flying Dragon, Sharp Sword of the Blue Sky, Magic Sword of the East, and others. Now, according to Alexei Ardashev, author of the book Basic Training of Special Forces, it is believed that the training of soldiers of any of the Chinese Special Forces units has no analogues in the world. The operation carried out by Falcon Detachment is usually cited as proof of this statement. A detachment of 32 people was sent to Afghanistan to free their compatriots who were taken hostage. Despite the fact that there is no official information about the operation to this day, the Islamabad Times published information that the Chinese Special Forces not only released all the hostages under the cover of night, but also captured the criminals who were holding them. All this was done without a single shot being fired. However, even if you turn to information that is not classified, you will have to admit that the Chinese Special Forces are really one of the best on the planet. So even during the first competitions of Special Forces units held in Estonia in 1998, the Chinese won 8 first places in 20 types of programs and took the 3rd place in the overall standings. Subsequently, the Chinese fighters only confirmed their superiority. For example, in 2009, at competitions in Slovakia, Chinese Special Forces won 8 clean victories in 13 disciplines. And in 2011, as the daily newspaper China Daily wrote, China took first place in the World Cup among snipers in Budapest. Well, the secret of success of the Chinese Special Forces is serious training of fighters. Any training is organized in such a way that it takes place at the limit of the physical and psychological capabilities of a person. Even the basic training of Chinese Special Forces includes not only physical exercises, hand-to-hand combat skills, and the ability to handle any type of weapon, but also the ability to navigate, survive, and complete tasks on the ground in all weather conditions, in the forest, in the mountains, in the snow. Moreover, training sessions that require snow always take place in the northeastern regions, and even at temperature minus 40 Celsius. No wonder that the training of Special Forces soldiers was dubbed or called the road to hell. In addition, China pays great attention to the most modern technologies and weapons, which are also mastered by Special Forces. According to other Russian sources, 12 elite Special Forces of the People's Liberation Army are as follows. 1. Eastern Sword belongs to the Beijing Military District. All 3,000 soldiers of the elite squad are used in all types of operations and are considered to be the best army in the country. South China Sword, created in 1988, number 2, is considered the first elite Special Forces unit of the Chinese Army. The unit is stationed in the Guangzhou military region of southern China and has the most high-tech equipment among all the Chinese armed forces. Number 3 is Tiger of the Dark Night. It belongs to the northwest Chinese military region of Lanzhou. The team is equipped with a high-class specialist and can solve the most difficult tasks. Number 4 is Flying Dragon, and it's a special land division of the Nanjing military region of eastern China. The main tasks are reconnaissance, sabotage work behind enemy lines, search and rescue operations. 5 is the Siberian Tiger. This name belongs to the Naval Special Forces. Currently, this unit is in the northeastern Chinese military district of Shenyang. The main feature is that this unit is mainly used in wooded areas. Number 6 is Special Forces Eagle, and it refers to the East China Military District Jinan. Special Forces soldiers can perform both sea and air-land operations. 7 is Southwest Chinese Falcon. It refers to the Southwest Chinese military region of Chengdu. The soldiers of this special unit are recruited mainly from low-income areas of Western China. 8 is Leopard, and this name is given to the selected special subgroup of the Southwest Chinese Special Forces Falcon. The squad is equipped with latest military technology. 9 is Commando Dragon, the naval special forces of the Chinese Navy. In its arsenal, it has modern underwear swimming devices and is equipped with weapons that shoot underwater. Commando Tor number 10 belongs to the Chinese Air Force. Special forces from ultra-low altitudes land in the rear of the enemy and direct designators at the enemy military facilities. Guidance. Number 11 is Special Forces Snow Leopard, and it belongs to the armed forces of the Chinese People's Police. It is mainly used for the operations to liberate hostages. 12 is the Falcon Commando, and it belongs to the Chinese People's Police. It is trained to carry out various anti-terrorist operations, especially in urban areas. So we're finding out that there are hostage taking in China, that of course they have special underwater forces, which is very interesting. I wonder if they're going to use them in Mariana Trench too. And they really need to have very specialized units with different skills. Chinese special forces are provided with the most modern weapons and equipment in the PLA, including advanced electronics and communications, unmanned aerial vehicles, night vision devices, and target designators, as well as a range of light vehicles and small boats. They can be delivered by air, land, and sea. Surface and underwater vehicles are used. But according to the Americans, now China is creating enhanced super soldiers, something similar to those super soldiers in such films as Captain America. U.S. intelligence shows that China has conducted human testing on members of the People's Liberation Army in hopes of developing soldiers with biologically enhanced capabilities. That's according to the top U.S. intelligence official who revealed it on December 4th in the year 2020. John Ratcliffe, the director of national intelligence, included this fascinating claim in a protracted Wall Street Journal op-ed, in which he made the case that China poses the preeminent national security threat to the United States. There are no ethical boundaries to Beijing's pursuit of power, according to Ratcliffe, a former member of Congress from Texas. Well, last year, 2 American scholars wrote a paper examining China's ambitions to apply biotechnology to the battlefield, including what they say were signs that China was interested in using gene editing technology to enhance human and perhaps soldier performance. Specifically, the scholars explore Chinese research using the gene editing tool CRISPR, which is short for clusters of regularly interspaced short palindromic repeats. This CRISPR has been used to treat genetic diseases and modify plants, but Western scientists consider it unethical to seek to manipulate genes to boost the performance of healthy people. I'm sure we will be hearing more on this subject as the time goes by. And again, this was no incident or accident that was published now. But I also read the following article published in the PLA News on November 10, 2017. I hope the translation was accurate. And the title is The Real-Time Version of Biochemical Crisis: How Genetic Weapons Affect Future Wars. I think it's interesting to us to see the basis for all of it and what the Chinese say. I won't read the full article, but I'll start with this section. In fact, from Germany's flu bacterial weapons during World War I to Japan's 731 troops during World War II, to the Soviet Union's unprecedented arsenal of biological weapons during the Cold War, every piece of history about biological weapons is inevitably bloody and chilling. Since the beginning of the 21st century, gene editing technology has flourished. The human genome map has been successfully completed. The study of biological weapons has entered the era of genetic weapons. A real version of the biochemical crisis may begin. From the 1970s to the 1980s, molecular genetics developed rapidly, making it possible to develop genetic weapons. Now, genetic weapons is based on the recombination of DNA, the carrier of genetic information. Gene engineering methods can be used to achieve gene separation and recombination, the formation of composite DNA, and on this basis, the use of microorganisms to achieve gene transfer, to make a biological weapon that can change genetic material. Because the genetic weapons is cut out of the new virus, new bacteria, genetic code, only the designers know that the other side is difficult to decipher in time and develop a new vaccine against it. Even with the update of the vaccine bank, there is still a steady stream of new genetic weapons ready to be issued. The speed of the development of a vaccine must not catch up with the speed of poisoning. Such a clear and dark contest, obviously on the defensive side, is extremely disadvantageous, especially with the rapid development of genomics. More and more complete gene subsequences of pathogenic microorganisms have been discovered, and these microorganisms may be the authors of the biochemical crisis. By finding a breakthrough in genetic code, it is easy to turn them into deadly biological bombs. Like conventional biological weapons, genetic weapons are characterized by small size, low cost, and non-destruction of non-living substances. Users do not have to be motivated, as long as through artificial aircraft missiles and other means of delivery of genetic weapons into the enemy territory, they can achieve military purposes. It is clear that genetic weapons have many advantages that traditional biological weapons cannot match. First, genetic weapons are more contagious and lethal. For example, by transplanting gene fragments with strong reproductive capacity, the reproductive diffusion of deadly bacteria can be increased several times, and by transplanting gene fragments with strong disease-caused capacity, the fatality rate can be increased to about 100%. Secondly, genetic weapons are extremely hidden. For different military purposes, environment and targets, users can artificially design the incubation period of genetic weapons. In other words, people can make genetic weapons into a time bomb and count down for up to 10 years. This is the most important difference between genetic weapons and traditional biological weapons and chemical weapons. Once genetic weapons are put into service, they will make a huge difference to future wars. The pattern of war will change. Hostile parties may use genetic weapons before the war, causing damage to each other's personnel and living environment, resulting in the loss of combat effectiveness of a nation, a country, in the bloodless conquest. The structure of the military establishment will change. Combat troops will be reduced, while health service support units will be significantly increased. Strategic and tactical weapons will be integrated. The future battlefield will become an invisible battlefield, which will make the battlefield situation difficult to grasp and control, and bring new problems and challenges to the military defense and military medical research. Genetic weapons will act as a strategic deterrent. SPR gene editing has revolutionized the scientific community since 2014. CRI-SPR system, simply an adaptive immune system that bacteria can use to silently remove viral genes from their chromosomes, is a peculiar immunity of bacteria. In the mammalian genome, the CRI-SPR system has been developed into an efficient and simple gene editing technique, like a common for all gene scissors that can turn on or silence certain genes at the same time, resulting in bulk editing of genes. The development of this technology has made the development of genetic weapons more powerful and can make the target population of genetic weapons more accurate and more faster and more deterrent. U.S. intelligence agencies have classified CRI-SPR gene editing technology as a potential weapon of mass destruction. So that's what the Chinese say about the United States, and we heard what the United States said about the Chinese. Let's continue. However, as far as the CRI-SPR technology itself is concerned, it is currently confined to laboratories with a high rate of experimental failures, not to mention the development of weapons of mass destruction. Modern warfare is developing in many dimensions, and with the continuous improvement of information technology, war is more of a confrontation against material, energy, equipment, and data information. Whether genetic weapons, which are used as a means of chronic killing of humans and animals, can be used in combat, and at what cost, is debatable. Moreover, the slaughter of genetic weapons, irrefutable as a military and civilian, carries serious political and moral risks with immeasurable consequences. Moreover, if the operation is improper or bad luck, or misfortune probably, once the transport process leakage hurt their own people, it is tantamount to lift a stone to hit their own feet. In the long run, genetic weapons are more of a strategic deterrent. In the real world, human exploration of the secret of life is only the tip of the iceberg. Genetic engineering is not God's creation. The indiscriminate misuse of genetic weapons will bring unpredictable disaster to all mankind. The author of the article is Chao Shiyang. Well, it is quite possible that we'll find out more about China, Russia, and the United States, and how the countries are engaged in the creation of super soldiers and super warriors. In my channel, I present videos about mainly paranormal phenomena, but intelligence agencies of major powers have been very much interested in such subjects too, and they try to exploit ESP, special abilities, and of course they spy on each other's developments. So occasionally I will present videos about the special missions, for example, of the KGB, the methods of their work, and similar topics. I thank you for your support, and if you can support my research, you will find the description to this video. Please subscribe to my channel, please tell others, and be safe. Thank you.